I would like to introduce you with Saba Gul. She is originally from Pakistan, and first of all, would you like to tell some words about the most interesting facts about yourself? And how would you like to present yourself, to introduce yourself?
Okay, so as you already mentioned, my name is Saba Gul, and I am originally from Pakistan, but I feel like I belong everywhere and at the same time nowhere, and it's because of my international background and traveling experiences. The most interesting fact about me is that I chose my name myself, and I think not many people get the opportunity to do so. So when I was 5 years old, my father came to me and he told me this name Saba, and he told me and explained me the meaning of the name Saba, which means the morning breeze. And he asked me if I wanted to have this name instead of my old name, which was Ikra. And like, I was just a child of 5 years old, but this name seemed more pleasant to my ears and the way it was pronounced, so I opted for Saba. And so I come from a very humble background. We are 4 siblings. I'm the youngest one. So I grew up with a lot of freedom. I cannot say that I was spoiled or I was a pampered child, but yes, I grew up with a lot of freedom and trust that my parents gave me. Another interesting fact about me is that I have traveled to more than, or let's say around 25 countries so far, which is interesting because usually not a lot of Pakistani girls travel alone, and I have traveled to at least more than half of these countries as a solo traveler, just like couch surfing and interacting with complete strangers. Other than that, maybe I can brag about my academic achievements. I was always a nerd, and I got a fully funded scholarship in Turkey. So after high school, I moved to Turkey, and even though my studies were in Turkish, which is not my first, second, or even third language, but I topped in the entire faculty among almost 1,000 students. So I'm a business graduate, and now here I am in Estonia.
Is it your final destination?
No, of course not.
Why not?
I love this country and I really like especially the old town and the sea, but for me, I'm a person who learns from traveling. Like, I think each person has something which drives him. Like, for some people it's maybe books, for some people they get their motivation from maybe movies, but for me it's traveling. So I think it's very important for me to keep moving from one place to another to grow more.
To grow more.
Yes.
How do you grow? How traveling changes your life, develop you? Can you explain this?
Yes, sure. So for me, traveling is not about visiting the, for example, visiting Eiffel Tower in Paris, or just, visiting the touristy spots in a country. For me, it's more about seeing how the local life is, or living that local experience, interacting with the local people in each country. And when you talk to more and more people, you just understand different views, different opinions that you once were like completely foreign to. So when you talk to more people from different backgrounds, the more information that you have about life, about education, about careers, about nature, like about everything. So that ends up broadening your mental horizons, and it increases your capacity to understand like different concepts as well.
What is an Estonian concept of life? Can you tell us?
Actually, I came here like in the second week of April, so I don't know about it a lot yet, I would say. And mostly I am interacting with foreigners at my workplace and the people that I hang out with, so I yet have to figure that out. But few things that I really liked about Estonians is that I believe they have a very healthy lifestyle, because whenever I go to the beach for a walk, I always see a lot of people running and doing exercise, which is in some countries that I've been to where it's not common at all. And that's why I say that it's good when you travel to different countries and see life in different places.
Yes, but also drink alcohol and eat fried meat. Yeah.
Oh yeah, alcohol. I haven't been out like late night a lot, so I didn't see a lot of drunk people as yet. But once or twice in the buses, I did spot some drunk people, but it's not entirely new to me because I did my exchange semester in Poland before, and they also had this problem with drinking, and also in Ukraine when I was traveling there. I remember I was in Odessa, and even in the buses and everywhere, like while walking, I could smell the alcohol. So it's also interesting to know that something which is completely forbidden in our culture is a substantial part of culture here. Yeah.
Let's talk. First of all, let's talk about Pakistan. Bright and dark sides of your country. What is a bright side? What should we know about Pakistan? First of all, that we that there is no illusion about Pakistan. Just true view. Yeah.
Okay.
Reality.
So before going into the dark side and the bright side of Pakistan, I would just share something about Pakistan. It's actually one of the first countries in the world which was created in the name of religion. So we all, like 220 million people, live together because majority of us share the same religion, and not because we are one ethnic group. So in Pakistan we have different ethnicities. There are 5 major ethnicities, I would say, according to which our country is divided into different provinces. Like I come from Punjab, so I'm a Punjabi. And then we have Pashtuns, which are like in another province. Then we have Sindhis, Balochis. So even though we share one common culture, I would say on certain level, we do have a lot of subcultures according to our ethnic group. And that's why I always find it very hard to generalize something about Pakistan, because it's like very complex culture, and it's same like in India. There they have more ethnic groups than even we do in Pakistan, and like in Bangladesh, in the South Asia. So if I just refer to history quickly, once India, Pakistan and Bangladesh were one country, and then we had the Britishers visiting us over, and then we were divided. And as I mentioned before, religion was used as the base to mark the boundaries of the country. So where they had all Muslims, they marked them as Pakistan, and then we had Bangladesh, which was initially actually Pakistan. It was called East Pakistan, and then we were on the west side of India, so we were West Pakistan. But again we had conflict despite having the same religion, and then Bangladesh separated from us too. So it's important to know this because, for example, maybe you have heard of Malala. She's very famous. She got a Nobel Prize too. And she comes from a Pashtun ethnic background. And even when I read her book, she has talked more about her identity as a Pashtun than as a Pakistani. But when people read it, they just think that everywhere in Pakistan it's same, and women can go to schools, and which could be true, but not entirely true. And that's why I mentioned it in the beginning, that what I am going to say here would be a reflection of what I have seen around myself or in my cities, and the situation can be entirely different in another ethnic group. And now I can talk about the positive sides of Pakistan. First, because I love traveling. Actually, I haven't traveled in Pakistan at all, but the nature there, especially in the north, is extremely beautiful. We have one of the highest peaks in the world, like in fact K2, which is the second highest mountain after Everest. It's in Pakistan, and a lot of foreigners come to just climb the peak. And apart from nature, what I miss the most about Pakistan is where I was born and grew up, like in our neighborhood. Everyone knows everyone and they are very close. So if you ever need something, they will be there for you, which is one of the most beautiful things that I feel like the Western countries often lack, that close connectivity. Sometimes it can cause you problems because there is a lot of interference of people in your lives. But in general, it's good to know that this place is yours, and whenever you need someone, people will be there for you. And also our families are more closely attached. In some cases, even the relatives all are closely attached. In my personal case, I was not living in a joint family system, like I was seeing my relatives once a year, let's say. So I'm not very close to my relatives. But with my family, with my siblings, I'm very close, and I know that we will be there for each other whenever it's needed. So this neighborhood and this being there for each other is one of the most beautiful things about Pakistan for me. And our cuisine, I am not a nationalist, but I think we have the best food in the world. And the cultures, as I mentioned, that we are different ethnic groups living together. We have different subcultures, we have different languages, different food, different clothes. So that diversity in Pakistan is also very nice. Although I do feel that people don't really celebrate that diversity, which I would consider or put under the dark side of Pakistan. Our people are often not very tolerant to views that are different than theirs. Again, I would say maybe don't take it as a fact, but in my experiences and observations, that is the case. And then we have the dark sides are actually, I think, more than the positive sides, mainly due to the political system, the corrupt social system. Also, political system is corrupt because of that. And then we never had stability. Like since we got independence, we had 3 or 4 wars with India. Then we were involved in this proxy war against Russia and Afghanistan. So we never had this, and then we had a lot of problems with terrorism for like a decade. So we never saw, like, a stable political regime in our country. It was always like going from one point to another and then back to normal, and then again something happens. So that's one of the dark sides. And of course it affects economy, which in turn affects the employment, which in turn affects the social system, the poverty level. And yeah, I mean, it's all like linked together at the end.
Poverty.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know that people earn $1, yeah, per day. I've heard.
It could be. It's not surprising for me. I know there are people who are earning like maybe $30-40 a month, which is like $1. Yeah.
So in spite of traditionalism and close relationships between people, yeah, there is an inequality, yeah.
There is a huge difference. I mean, if you see this chart of the unequal distribution of wealth, Pakistan is, I think it's in one of the top countries most likely, because there are a lot of super rich people in Pakistan. And especially if you see our weddings or social media, even now when I see it, I'm like, our people are not poor, because there are a lot of rich people who would spend so extravagantly on like these maybe minor things, but then there are people who are, struggling to get their next meal. So
you decided to leave your country and to explore the world.
right.
Yeah, because your country so good, yeah, and did you lose your interest to your country? And nothing new, yeah, nothing new. That's everything is clear, known, and it's not so interesting to live in a country where you can count treasured, yeah, can be valued, yeah. What else? Be influenced, be important, just a part of culture, yeah. And what was the motivation to be what was your motivation to be the best student also?
Okay, so first of all, in Pakistan we have different type of schools, like government, private, and then we also have military schools or army schools. It's because we had this strong army is very strong in Pakistan, even in political affairs, and people who know the politics of that area would also know that. And I was studying in a military school. It's not that we had like generals or like those people teaching us, but yeah, the principal would always be a retired army officer, like a retired general or a retired brigadier. So somehow the culture was more like a strict army style. And there, to be honest, you didn't even have much option to choose to fail, for example. You have to be top of the class. And I remember, like, even before entering preschool, like when I was 5, I had to take an exam. And that's how I passed to be a part of that school. So generally they are like one of the best ranked schools in Pakistan, the ones that come under army. Same goes for university. We have universities that come under army, and those are like the hardest to get into because they have the highest merit. So I was in that school, so everybody around me was like, you know, super good. So
you have to be the best, because in other way you will be shooted.
Yeah, there was like no other way around. I remember, especially once we were like in middle classes or older, if you fail an exam, like your teacher would make you sit there until you pass it. You will have to sit after the school hours, like 1 or 2 hours more. So you, as I said, like you don't have another option not to be good. Also, I would give some credit to the teachers. Actually, they were like really good. If talking about from an academic point of view, they were really marvelous. There were some things that I wasn't very satisfied with, of course, with that school. At that time, I was a kid and I didn't know. But once I started traveling and I saw like how education systems are in other countries, I realized that ours was to some extent very toxic. I remember we were not allowed to speak in between when teachers, you know, when for example the English session ends and the teacher went out and the other has to come in. Even during that period we were not allowed to talk to each other, and at that time we didn't feel that it's abnormal, but now I felt that it's a very abnormal expectation, that there are kids who are sitting together who are friends and you don't want them to speak between classes. And like all the boys were supposed to have a particular haircut, and they would check our nails every day. We were not allowed to grow our nails longer. So it was like a very disciplined environment. And I was in that school for 12 years till my 2nd grade of high school. You know, from preschool till 2nd grade of high school is like 12 years. So that discipline is like, I would say, not my choice entirely. It was just, I grew up with that and it has become part of me. And one of the other reasons is that my father, he himself was the eldest son, so he had to join military and he couldn't complete his education. But he was very fond of learning and education, and he made sure that we siblings, we get the best of the best education. So it was something that used to make him very happy. And as I say, like, I adore my family. When I see my parents' life, I cannot think of a single thing that they did for themselves. Everything they did was to ensure that we have a better future, we are educated. So I just had a lot of regard for that too. Like, if my parents are doing something for me, that's the least that I can do for them. it just makes them happy. I know that being the top of the class doesn't mean that you are smart. It doesn't necessarily mean that you have the practical skills to excel in your professional career or life too. But it was just something that I knew that made my parents very happy and proud of me. And also because it's, you know, it's hardworking is like a habit. You can't decide, I think, one day that, okay, from tomorrow I'm going to be hardworking and I'll work like 8 hours a day. So once I got used to it, it's now the hardworking is like a part of my core personality, I would say. And now I have no other choice. Even if I have no pressure to excel, I will still make sure to be the best student, or like whatever I do, like in my work or anything that I do.
Is it easy to be the best?
In Pakistan, I think it was hard because everyone around me was super hardworking, because that's how the culture fosters us. But when I was in Turkey, I think it was kind of easier for me to be top of the class, because not all of their students were very hardworking, I would say. They have a more relaxed approach towards education, and their system, I found it comparatively easier than the educational system in Pakistan. So when I was in Turkey, it was kind of easier for me to, you know, be among the top, if I compare. Yeah.
As for Europe?
I did 1 semester in Poland, and that was also super easy for me, because first it was Erasmus, so they know they don't expect a lot from us. And then it was easier for me because in Turkey I was taking my subjects in Turkish. And then when I moved to English, it was very easy for me because I forgot to mention it, that English is the co-official language in Pakistan. So I had all my education in English. And when I first moved to Turkey in the beginning, it was hard for me to adopt to Turkish. But when I went to Poland, it was again very easy for me. So once you're used to a certain level of difficulty and then you find something, you know, lower than that, it's easier for you. So in Poland it was easier for me. Again, I would say if I compare it to Pakistan, it was easier because we didn't even have a lot of exams there. They were giving us presentations or projects, so it was easier.
Why did you choose this department, like business administration? Yeah, why not medicine or engineering or something more complicated, interesting, because of your bright skills, capabilities, and potential?
Again, I would refer to like some interesting parts of cultures. Like in our culture, all the girls usually opt for medicine and all the boys go for engineering. And it's sort of as it is programmed for them. They don't really think about it. But when I was in grade 8, we get an option to choose either, for example, biology or either computer science. And I opted for computer science, and I was the only girl, I think, in my class to do so. And all the other girls were taking bio because they wanted to be doctors, and all the boys were taking computer science because they wanted to be engineers. And even at that point, my class teacher had like contacted my mom, and she was like, do you know what your daughter is doing? Like she's doing something, as if I was going against the norms of the society. But my parents were happy, and I never liked biology, to be honest. I was never interested in knowing what is like inside me. But I was interested initially in engineering. I was always like very good in physics and maths. But you know, like a portion of our exams is based on practical lab experiments. And I was in grade 10, which is like the second year of high school. And when I was doing those experiments for physics, I just realized, like, do I want to do this like all my life? And that was kind of, you know, like one of those moments of realization that I realized that no, this is not something for me. I do like physics, I liked the concepts, the theoretical part of it, because you know, when it's something which is concepts based, you don't have to read or cram a lot. Once you know the concept, you can do anything which is based around it. But when I was doing those experiments, I realized that I was never interested in, you know, for example, opening the computers or like opening everything in the house. And also my brother, I think, indirectly had influenced it, because he's an engineer, he's 5 years older than me, and he was someone who would be always opening up things, and he could fix anything in the house, like from a very young age. So when I compared myself with him, I realized that no, this is something that he is suitable for, but not for myself. And then I started thinking what I enjoy the most. So when I was young, I really liked to play strategic games, you know, like Age of Empires and Rise of Nation, those classic games. And I also really enjoyed numbers. Like I would pretend to have, like, you know, anything as coins, and I would like buy stuff, sell stuff, even when I was playing with myself, you know, okay, this is the money that you have to spend for this and this.
And also shopping? Yeah.
No, not really shopping. But I was always good with money and budgeting, like, you know, I've never overspent or something. So at that time I realized that maybe this is something I should pursue. And then we had an option that, you know, I could change my subjects for the last 2 years of high school. And then I chose more subjects related to business, like economics, commercial geography, banking. And that's when I realized that I would be more interested in this side. And I always have this, I think I'm against this idea when people say that business is easy. I don't agree. In fact, even if I see my grades, I have higher grades in physics and maths as compared to these subjects. And I can show my transcripts, because you know, people always kind of had this idea that, you are doing the easy stuff and we are doing the hard stuff, especially my friends from engineering or from medicine point of views. And I think it's because in business, there is no factual answer, there is no correct answer. When it comes to strategy, you cannot say that, okay, you use this formula and this is the strategy you get. Whereas in physics, chemistries, you have these formulas, and when you get something, you are for sure that, okay, this is the answer and there is no other answer for this. But in business and in strategic management and all these subjects, you have to use your brain more, you have to be more creative to analyze the whole situation and then come up with an answer, which is actually not the only option, and it might not even be the right option. So I find it an area where you can be more creative. So I mean, I'm not against any department, and I think all of the fields in the world are equally important, and you should just do what you are more interested to do.
Of course.
Yeah.
Sure. Don't you think that money and capitalism is a religion, is a form of religion?
It is the biggest religion. I was reading this book, maybe you know, Homo Sapiens, by Harari, and he really writes it beautifully.
Homo Deus.
I didn't read Homo Deus, I read the first one, Homo Sapiens. And there he writes that money has done what religions were not able to do. Like money has brought people together. And when it comes to money, people never say that, okay, no, it's the dollar, it's the money of Christians, I don't want to use. Okay, or no, it's a real, it's the money of Muslims, I don't want to use. Like that's the only kind of area where people come together and they don't mind using each other's currency, and they put religious differences and everything back. So I agree that it's like the biggest religion.
So, and you believe in money, yeah? In power of money?
For my own self, like ideally, personally, maybe not, but being practical, I do feel. And because I come from a country where it's very corrupt, Pakistan, there you can clearly see that money speaks. Or not only in Pakistan, I think pretty much everywhere, especially when it comes to media and everything, money does have an influence, and I can't disagree.